Queen's Comic Podcast. Hey, let's go.
Hey, what's up? I'm Billy Bums, and this is the Queen's Comic Podcast.
Hi, I'm Ian, and it is the Queen's Comic Podcast.
I know I always got to make a better intro than that. My bad. The song kind of does a good job with all that.
The song is better. Mark gets all the credit for that. Well, most of it. I wrote it.
One day we should bring back Mike.
Yeah.
He liked a photo of mine earlier, and I was like, "Who is this guy?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." But Ian, this week we're getting ready for a big AppleCon,
We are.
and I'm hoping it goes well. It's going to be good. I know it's going to be good. It's going to be packed. It's going to be Ken Landgraf is going to be there. The guy who did Cherry Pop Tart, is it?
Is Landgraf going to be there? I didn't see him on the guest list.
Oh yeah. Well, I kind of put the book on the side for him, so hopefully he's there.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if he's there. He lives a couple miles away. Yeah, Larry Wells is going to be there. I went to my storage locker last night.
Mhm.
Dug her out.
Oh, I saw that photo. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
You want the
that's
metal
print.
one or not?
Sorry?
Who's like the metal version of that?
What? No. It's in a top loader.
No. I'm asking, would you like a metal copy? They just made of that.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. To go along with this legitimate first print right here.
Yeah. Which always cracks me up. How many printings did that go through? Like 7?
At least. Yeah.
Damn, that was a popular book, bro.
Was.
I only have the Aerosmith one.
Yeah, I have that one too. I think I have about 10 of them.
That's not bad. How many is there? 17?
No, there's more than that because there's a Kickstarter campaign right now for the latest issue, which I think is 26.
How much is the Kickstarter going for?
It's like $12, I think, for the issue. It's not crazy.
Yeah. It's funny how like everything's like a Kickstarter now or whatnot. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, something like that. I mean, it's a niche market, it's adult content. Not every store is going to stock it. So it kind of makes sense to crowdsource something like that. It's not like it's going to get distributed the way Batman or Spider-Man is.
that's true. That's true. And McFarlane Toys just started doing a McFarlane store or McFarlane fan club where they're coming out with toys now, but you have to like back it like a Kickstarter.
Okay, so you're basically pre-ordering.
That's what I thought. It already reached it in 2 hours. It reached beyond the pre-order.
Yeah.
But what's kind of cool is that to get something signed by him between the toy and the signature is only a $30 difference.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah. It's about this big. It's a Batman
Uh-huh.
statue, but it's the logo. It's the icon logo. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure.
Here, it's let me pull out, like, of course I got a Batman comic somewhere. Well, here I got a Marvel one. It's like one of these,
Okay.
the corner icon, but
Oh,
for
the corner
DC.
icon. Yeah, okay. I know what you mean.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. But it's a big statue, and there's a bar there that you can get signed by him, Batman, or you can get Dan Jurgens to sign Superman.
Okay.
And the Dan Jurgen ones, I guarantee is gonna be rare because ain't nobody playing that.
Yeah, they're not going to make as many of those.
Yeah, they're making 200 of each, and then everything else. But I don't know if I have the heart to bid. Like, I don't know if I really need it.
It's going to be expensive, right? Like, what's it cost?
129.
It's not bonkers for a big giant statue signed by Todd McFarlane.
Yeah, and and then the regular is $100, so it's a $30 difference.
Right.
But what can you do, right? It's like
Yeah.
not bad, but like same time, it's hard to justify signed statues.
True.
You know, I have a Neil Adams signed Man Bat statue that the guy in front of me online to meet Neil Adams got signed, and then sold it to the store like a month later for less than what it's worth because somebody wrote on it.
You told that story, I think, on like one of the first episodes we did before we were doing YouTube.
Yeah, and I love that story because it's so dumb. Like the fact the guy bought it for $80, got it signed for another 50, and then tried selling it at the store, but the store's like, "Oh, it's already open," and somebody wrote on it. You got signed, but it don't mean nothing because there's no JSA.
Right.
You know that cracked me up. But a lot of funny stuff has happened last week, and I know we're not supposed to be political, and I know we try not to be, but we're gonna bring up something that happened to us a long time ago. The Epic Nation thing. Recently, he just we saw online that he challenged Nemesis Prime to a boxing match.
I did
And
see
I had to
that.
explain to Nemesis Prime that, I do have I have a boxing ring
Mhm.
and a venue. And I already talked to the guys to like how do I say this? To get a referee and get it kind of sanctioned as an amateur boxing match. I've done more for this than I've done for anything in one day.
I'm all. If you
But
make that happen, I'm all over
if
it.
they go for it, they're going to do it at the scene of the crime.
I'll be the announcer. I'll do the ring announcer.
No, we already got an announcer.
Oh, you got an
Sorry.
announcer. All right.
Yeah. Sorry, it's going to be a professional guy with music and everything.
Oh man.
If I can get dude, like, because we already do boxing.
Right.
So I was like, yo, can we just throw in one match? I was like, I'm gonna get this ring girl that dresses like She-Hulk for a burlesque show and have her with the numbers. Because they really go like they said 3 rounds, not 6. But I was dying. I was like, this will be great. Like this will be the best thing ever. Because one, it's stupid.
Mhm.
And it's funny as hell. And I'm not gonna lie to you, 2025, like not much is going on with us this week because we're getting ready for Big Apple.
Right.
But only planning. Like we put out the schedule for Queens. We're doing 10 shows in Queens, and then we're gonna do 12 shows in Brooklyn. Unless something happens, but we're always gonna have a show somewhere. And then sooner or later we're gonna start doing Manhattan shows, but we're a little bit nervous now with the congestion pricing, which doesn't affect us on the weekend, so don't let me get wrong about that. But what does affect us is our friends who have comic book stores in Manhattan are being affected
Yeah.
because now people only can pick up 1 or 2 issues of stuff to carry because you're not driving in during the week. You got to take mass transit no matter what. You know, even though it's not that much of a price to get in there, because the more I think about it, it's not the end of the world. I just don't see the MTA getting better with the train or any other buses.
Well, that's it. Like I see both sides of this because it is a good idea, especially in New York City where it's so damn crowded and there's so many cars, to cut down on the amount of traffic. That makes sense. That's a noble ambition, right? Less pollution, less noise pollution, less traffic, less accidents. It's a better way to do it, but you can't eliminate cars. You can't.
No.
So
The
especially
one
for
thing that
businesses.
when Bill de Blasio first ran, he originally had an idea of doing overnight deliveries.
Mhm.
So New York would become a 24-hour city.
Right.
I thought that was brilliant because
Yeah.
most of the time, everything that's really congested is the trucks.
Yeah.
Vans would do repairs during the day. I get it, but food delivery, truck delivery, stuff like that to come at night, it would give a whole third shift of employees.
Mhm.
And then people are always working. Some guys don't like to do it, but most delivery guys love to start at 5 a.m. anyway.
Yeah.
It's just only difference is that maybe you start at 3 and then be done by 8, and then
Right.
the whole rest of the city would come in.
Yeah.
But there are not forward thinking people in New York. There's just people trying to get a cut of money. And like I've accepted that at this point. You know, I miss Manhattan. I miss going to Manhattan and just hanging around and feeling like you always felt safe growing up. I don't remember ever feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know, like, but nowadays it's a little bit of a zoo. My neighbors ran into something last night I told you about, which I thought was funny. And new rules for new things have really hit me also is we tried to deliver the food from the food donations show.
Mhm.
And it took me like 2 weeks to find somebody to take it.
Yeah, that's
I
insane.
thought it was canned goods. I half of it I couldn't give away, so I had another way of dealing with it. I'll tell you in a second. I went to 3 different spots after they were finally open. The third spot, every single one said, no, we can't take it. The city's telling us we have to get it from a certain area. I said, no problem. The next one, same thing. The third one, buddy, you can't leave nothing here. But he winked at me. It was a Catholic priest.
Uh-huh.
So I said, all right. So I just put it down. I will be right back. And then while I was walking away to my car, he was like, hey, buddy, you can't leave it while waving at me goodbye.
Okay.
And then there was a cop that was waiting because it's across the street from the public school. He was like, hey, you can't leave that. And then the guy was like, no, don't worry about it. I was like, it's food. He was like, oh, he was waving bye. Like, he was like, can't leave it here, buddy. It was the funniest thing you can do.
You lucked out. You
Another
found the right guy.
Yeah, but the problem is they're not allowed to take the food. So I'm not going to say where it is because God knows what kind of maniac is going to report it. You know what I mean?
Right.
People are like, snitching is a business, you know, and business is good.
Yeah.
But the other thing is though, I set up a cart of the cans
Mhm.
in front of the recycling bottle plant over here, and the rest of the food is going to all the fridges in the Bushwick and in Ridgewood area that have food inside. So I'm just going to load them up every time I collect food. I'm going to load them in there for anybody who's hungry. Come get food.
Good idea. Yeah.
That's all I can do because I did not realize it was going to be so difficult.
Right. And well, without naming names, like you said, if you ever find yourself in that situation again, I know someone.
Yes. But the fact that now they want it to be more verified. Like I didn't have to show ID to get to vote, but I have to show ID to deliver food. I'm confused.
Yeah, that's wild. I don't understand that at all. Like,
Pick
what's
one.
the city's
Pick one.
motivation?
I don't know. I feel like it's a harassment campaign against all these people selling food.
I don't know, but if you're
You know what I
donating
mean?
it
Like
to a shelter, not
shelter,
the same thing.
food bank. 100%. It's not the same thing. I don't get it.
Right.
I don't get it. And people are getting mad at me why I get mad at congestion price and all this stuff. It's just that I don't think people are gonna. It's not gonna go anywhere. It's just gonna
No.
go into somebody's pocket. And I feel like our friends who have stores, Brooklyn and Queens is gonna do great.
Yeah.
Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island. If there's any comic shops left in the Bronx,
There's a
we're all
couple.
gonna do well. But anybody in Manhattan right now, Forbidden Planet is feeling it. They're gonna be a Big Apple having their own wing with Joe Koch, which
Right.
is gonna be a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Are they clearing out the warehouse for this?
Yeah, they're getting 1,500 square feet to
Oh,
load it up full of comics.
okay.
So it's a whole wing. So Friday, you want to come Friday and set up and just see everything early?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
Okay, I'm not going to get there till 7.
Yeah. Let me get
But if
back
you
to
want
you.
to come just to see it
Yeah.
and just come set up just to see, and then I'll give you your pass early because you'll work with me Saturday. It's going to be a fun show. Of course it is. Big Apple's always fun.
Right.
It's
Yeah, I
just
always
the
have a good
setup
time.
is hard. Yeah, Manhattan is such a pain in the butt to set up. Even us in the ramp, somebody tried to give us a ticket while parked on a ramp into the New Yorker hotel, and I had to like chase them off. Last year, I was like, not, I don't know if it was last year. Yeah, it was probably last year when I was like chasing them off. I was like, get out of here.
The ramp would be into the hotel would be private property. What are the
Yes.
cops doing there?
Yeah. I was like, what are you doing here? Oh, you're parked in a no parking zone. I was like, I'm on a ramp.
Right.
And when the security guard chased her off too. It was like not even the first time. He's like, get the fuck out of here type shit. New York is a weird animal right now.
It is. It's a weird spot.
Have you been reading any books this week?
So I picked up like a handful, not a ton of stuff. It was a light week for me. But as far as new issues go, I got Absolute Batman #2.
Yeah, I was looking at that, but I'm gonna wait for the trade.
I liked it better than issue 1. They're building something.
Good.
I won't spoil it too much since you haven't read it yet, but I'm not completely sold on the way they're bringing in the Rogues Gallery, and I'll leave it at that because I don't
I
want
didn't like it
to.
from looking at the beginning.
Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, Snyder's a good writer. There's some really cool ideas. I do like the art. I think it's a really good looking book. When the first issue came out, I was underwhelmed just because it was hyped so much. And
Mhm.
so many people who got advanced copies told me it was the best Batman book of the last 20 years. And I was like, okay, this is going to be amazing. It's not. It's not the best Batman book of the last 20 years, but it's solid. It is pretty good. The second issue, like I said, they're building. So I'll give it a couple more issues, see where it goes. Stick with it. And then
Fair.
the other 2 new books I got are actually a couple months old. Issue 6 of Ultimate X-Men. I picked that up.
Nice.
It was, I buy this for the art. I like her art. Though she does do a really cool job of incorporating some Japanese yokai legends into the storyline and some like weird kind of almost like body horror elements into it, which you wouldn't expect from like something with the pretty water painted colors and stuff. But her background is as a horror artist, and she's working that into the story. The big surprise of the week for me, and shout out to Kevin Fong for recommending this to me like a month ago. I finally got around to picking up Tom Scioli's Godzilla's Monster Piece Theater from IDW. This
All right,
is
that's very cool.
it's great. This is legitimately great. Did they make you read The Great Gatsby in high school English?
Yes.
Okay. So you're familiar with the story? Because it
Yeah,
totally
of course.
ties into that.
No shit.
Yeah, it's set in the 1920s and it totally ties into The Great Gatsby. Scioli's artwork is excellent. I didn't know at first if I would like his take on Godzilla because I want my Godzilla to look fierce and kind of like realistic. Like I like Arthur Adams' take on Godzilla because it's super detailed. And I like James Stokoe's take on Godzilla
Yeah,
from
I'm a James Stokoe fan of Godzilla.
Yeah, his
That one's my
Godzilla would be
favorite because
great.
I love the detail.
Yeah, Scioli's art style is completely different. Like if you look right here on the cover, you can tell like Godzilla's not exactly fierce looking there, right? He's a little
Uh,
cartoony, and I'm okay with
the guy's
cartoon.
killing me in the little helicopter, the little windmill
Yeah,
helicopter.
yeah, but he's a little chunkier. He's not as scary looking, but it totally works in the context of the story, and I was really, really impressed with it. So I will be picking up the rest of that series for sure. And then on Saturday, our friend Matthew and I went to the Bronx. Anthony had a collection out, but I didn't pick anything up yet. So that'll be for the next episode. There's some stuff on hold for me. And then we went and did some dollar bin digging at Gotham, where I picked up really just a small handful of books. I got On the far side with the Dead Folks from Avatar Press, which is Joe Lansdale and Tim Truman. I'm sure everybody
Nice.
listening to this knows who Tim Truman is. Joe Lansdale. Are you familiar with Joe Lansdale?
No.
Okay, so he's a writer, a horror writer. You seen the movie Bubba Hotep?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote that's based on one of his books.
No shit.
Yeah.
Uh, because I love it because it's Bruce Campbell.
Right.
I have somewhere the figure in the basement.
Cool.
Yeah, I love Bubba Hotep.
Yeah, so it's and Lansdale and Tim Truman have worked together before because they did a couple of Jonah Hex miniseries for Vertigo back in the 90s, which I really liked. I think they're a good team. So, despite the fact that I think Avatar Press is run by scumbags, I was not going to miss out on this. I had the other issues from the miniseries. That was the only one I was missing. So for $1, I finished the set. I think I've mentioned before that I have a weird soft spot for Silverwolf comics from the 80s and the early 90s. This is Edge issue number 2. There are only
That's cool.
Yeah, so I completed that set. And then Rough Raiders. So Blue Comet Press, back in the late 80s, early 90s, put out, I think, 4 or 5 issues of Rough Raiders, which had early artwork by Stephen Hughes from Lady Death and early artwork from Tim Vigil. And this was the only issue I believe that I'm missing. That's the annual. I don't think there's any Vigil art in it. I haven't read it yet, but it says right there by Stephen Hughes. So there's definitely Hughes art
That's
in it.
excellent.
Yeah, so for a
Bro, you
buck,
got me kind of addicted to buying these indie books, and now that I separate them by 80s, 90s, 70s, and then by artists, it's kind of driving me nuts.
yeah, you're way more organized. I just have stuff in random boxes.
I can't take it no more. I want to know why I'm collecting books now, and I realize I collect stuff for story as trades, but I'm not really big on single issues like that. Only if it's the artist.
Right, right. And I'm the opposite. I very rarely get trades. I prefer single issues, but there's no wrong way to do it. No wrong way to do it.
Well, go into this. I'll tell you what books I got. You'll laugh.
Okay, and then the last book I got was again another Avatar book, but buying it secondhand from the dollar bin, so I'm not funding them. Is Fashion Beast #1, which is written by Alan Moore and Malcolm McLaren.
Clockwork Orange?
Sorry?
Oh no, it's the guy from Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes even less sense.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's the first issue of a horror series. I don't really know what was going on in the first issue. If I find the other ones for $1, I'll pick them up to see where it goes. The artwork's not bad, but you would think Alan Moore and Malcolm McLaren, it's going to be the greatest thing ever. Find them in dollar bins.
Fashion Beast. That is incredibly funny.
Yeah, it's not Watchmen, it's not Swamp Thing, it's not V for Vendetta. It's not on that level.
It's Johnny Rotten.
Yeah, right?
And the funny part is his pill stuff is better than Sex Pistols.
I don't know that I agree. The first 2 Pill albums are great. After that, they lose me.
Sex Pistols I didn't even buy till that was the last punk record I bought.
Yeah.
Before I stopped collecting hardcore. I got back into it years later. But when you're collecting from 13 till you're 25, most people start off with Sex Pistols. I started with something oddball, and then I ended it with Sex Pistols. Yeah, and then I got into more obscure shit.
I got a copy of Nevermind the Bullocks when I was 11 years old, and it blew my mind.
That's sick.
It blew my mind. So
that was your first record you ever heard?
No. I'd heard plenty of records before it, but I don't think it was the first punk record I ever heard either, because I had Ramones albums, and growing up, the Forgotten Rebels, who were a punk band out of Hamilton, Ontario, they were all over the place and very active and playing a lot. And my friend Brad gave me a copy of the Forgotten Rebels' This Ain't Hollywood on cassette when I was probably 9 or 10. And so that would have been my introduction, I think, to punk rock. Either that or the Ramones. There was a radio station in St. Catharines, the next town over from where I grew up, 97.7 Hits FM. And they would do what was called the Classic Album Showdown. So once a week or twice a week, around 10 or 11 o'clock, you would call in and vote on which album you wanted to play, and they would play that album in the entirety with no commercials. And so I would sit up with my tape recorder and record stuff, because I was like, full albums, right? And I would just record stuff that I'd never heard, or maybe somebody I'd heard of, but whose music I didn't necessarily know. So like 8 or 9 years old, I was recording Alice Cooper albums off the radio, and they definitely played the first Ramones album. And I remember recording it off that radio station and then buying a copy a couple of years later. But that would have been probably the first punk album I heard, was the first Ramones album.
That's awesome. For us is Seton Hall Radio was they would have a pirate radio, 89.5 pirate radio, and they would play like bands I never heard of. But you would have to like play with the antenna to get it in 97.
Yeah.
And then that's how I heard this band called Ensign from New Jersey, which is incredible. If anybody ever listens to it, this is gonna be the punk episode, and there's no joke right now.
Apparently, yeah.
It's just an album called it's a song called Silent Weapons for Silent Wars. It's fucking amazing. Great long intro, which I love, a really good build-up intro, and then you blast into it. But then WNYU would play local bands,
hmm
and they would play a whole set live. And I don't know if you guys had this up in Ontario, but in here we would have bands would make a second tape for you to buy off them, their entire set from Crucial Chaos, WNYU.
Okay.
Like I had Step Too Far, No Redeeming Social Value, I think 5 Minute Major, I think Scarhead. Like I can't remember off the top of my head, but you could look it up online, which I love,
That's
and watch
cool.
it on YouTube. And like it's not live, but it's just a recording. And it was just some kid there, you know what I mean? Like, and I just New York. The funny part is I've seen more punk bands at art galleries than I've seen them at underground shows, which kind of
Yeah.
always cracked me up. But the fact that it'll always go hand in hand, punk rock and
Yep.
that is awesome. But actually, did you ever listen to UK 82?
To who?
UK 82?
No, I don't think I know them.
All right, it's not a band. It's a genre of punk rock from England called UK 82. The Exploited came up with it.
Oh yeah, I mean I know a lot of those bands. I thought you were talking about a specific artist called UK 82.
No. But there's a band from there back in the day called the Skeptics.
Yep.
And I just saw that they're selling tickets for them to play near my house.
Oh wow.
And I was like, this, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap, I haven't seen them. They're on the back of my jacket. I want to, like, when I was a kid, like, I'll post it, like, online, like, the back of my jacket when I was a teenager. I was like, that's awesome. Because I don't know if you got a chance to see every band before they all kind of subsequently passed away. Because in the 80s, they were old, much less anything else, especially anything that was oi. Like, the Business were already old guys by the time they were doing tours in 98.
I never got to see the business. The only one of like the classic, I guess you'd call them an oi band that I've seen is Cockspire. I've seen them a couple of times.
Coxbar is one of the greatest live bands ever.
So much like just so the spirit in that room when they play, everybody's singing along. Like everyone's there for the same reason to have a good time. It's so positive and
100%.
so uplifting. And like if people talk about seeing unity, usually it's bullshit. Not at a Cockspire show.
Nah, you can't be mad at a Coxbar show. They had they played CBGB's as their return show,
Mm-hmm.
and we were pushing people in to get in.
Yeah, I bet.
The doors, like, like even the fat guy Brendan, the SVA guy, couldn't even like hold us back. Everybody was trying to get in there.
Last time I saw Cockspire was at Warsaw in Brooklyn.
That's a
And
great spot.
I was walking. I think I told you this story before, but I don't think I've told it on the camera. And so I'm walking to the bar to get a beer and get my wife a drink. And as I'm walking to the bar, Jimmy G from Murphy's Law, plastered out of his mind, runs up to me, gives me a giant bear hug, like lifts me off the ground. I'm a big guy, lifts me off the ground. He's like, "Man, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad to see you. I missed you. How you been doing?" I'm like, "Good. How are you?" And he's talking my ear off and talking about me. And he's like, "All right, man, go do your thing. Go do your thing." He had never met me before.
Oh. Dude, I love them to death. They're in Europe right now, Murphy's Law.
Yeah, with like
And
the front.
yeah. And Germany has some great venues. It's like a weird looking shape. Like it looks like a glorified barn in the middle of town or something like that in a major city, but it's a perfect venue.
You know who else is playing at TBI? I think in end of January. The X-Cops.
I saw that. They're January like 23rd or something like that.
You know the
And like
X-Cops?
I don't know them that well, but I just saw the flyer today. That's
Okay,
why.
so the X-Cops is basically Guar.
Oh no shit.
Yeah. So I saw the X-Cops 92, I think it was. I was in high school and they were opening for Guar. And so my friends and I drove from Niagara Falls, Ontario, across the border to Buffalo for the show. In the middle of winter, our car breaks down like 3 blocks from the venue, which was not in a good part of town. We're a bunch of white guys walking through downtown Buffalo. There's literally people yelling at us at the window, calling us honkies. Like, so we get there and the doors aren't opening for like another hour, but we left our jackets in the car because we didn't want to have our jackets at the venue. We didn't want to pay for coat check because we were cheap teenagers. So
Yeah.
we get to the venue and Guar Woman sticks her head out the door. She's like, "What are you guys doing out here?" We're like, "Oh, we thought the venue would be open and we could wait in the lobby." She's like, "No, it's not, but you're going to freeze to death out here. Hold on." So she came around and let us in to the lobby, which was super cool. And then we're just kind of standing there waiting for the show to start. We come up, we're the first in line. So the doors open, I'm right against the stage. And I don't know who X cops are, but it's Guar. They each member plays a different kind of cop cliche, right? They have like a gimp cop, a leather cop, and the singer, who is currently fronting Guar as Blothar. He's the big fat Southern sheriff. And so they walk on stage and he's got this shotgun over his shoulder and he's like, "Hello, Buffalo, you fucking Yankees. Fuck you, you fucking Yankees." So I'm right up front and I'm just go, "Fuck you." And he goes, "No, kid, fuck you." He puts a shotgun right in my face. And I'm like, okay, I know this is fake, but it's scary as hell, right? Pulls the trigger and whatever was in that prop shotgun, I think it was cake batter. It was something sweet. Blasts me in the face. And so like as soon as they come on, I'm covered in fake gore. So they come out, they play their set. They were a lot of fun. I have not seen them since. They've only put out one album since. As to the Guar show, we were all excited because Guar woman, her part of her costume didn't show up. So she did the fire dance completely topless.
Okay.
Which, at 16 years old is a big thrill. And then, we're covered in blood. It was everybody's smacking Odoris's dong off the stage and everything. They were killing all the celebrities and stuff. At the end of the show, we're like, okay, well, we got to go back to Canada. So we get AAA to come and jump my friend Rob's car. So we get the car started and we're like, all right, as long as we don't turn the car off, we're good to get home. So we're crossing the border to go back into Canada. And there's this old dude, customs guy, that we got to deal with to get back in the country. We're all covered in fake cum and fake blood and fake crap and everything. We look like a disaster. We get to the border crossing. He's like, "Roll down the windows. What's going on? Let me get a look at you guys." And it's dark. So he's shining a flashlight in the car. It's kind of intimidating. And he's like, what have you guys been up to? He knows it's fake. He knows we're not covered in real blood. We were like, "Oh, we just went to a concert." He goes, "Oh, you must have gone to see Alice Cooper. My son was at that show tonight. Go ahead." And he waved us through.
That's funny. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Night to remember.
Dude, just to turn around on the Warsaw, I saw War there with Unearth. It's a very nice venue.
It's great.
The lady who sells pierogies looked like something out of Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Yeah.
But I had all night a friend of mine telling me that the giant paintings in Warsaw, which were like 30 feet in the air, but they're huge. She was like, "Oh, they got to be fake. They can't be from, they had to make a fake one and put them up." And I said, nobody would spend time or money to do that. And it drove me nuts the whole night.
Mm-hmm.
Because she kept bringing it up to the point I just had to hide from her during war. And that place is great.
Yeah. When I saw, it was Coxbar. The second time I saw Coxbar there, 45 adapters were on the opening bill. And
they're playing like 5 shows this summer.
Yeah. And
the Hub City Stompers, a bunch of other stuff.
Mm-hmm. We went and got pierogies and hung out with the singer from the 45 adapters and ate pierogies.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's something to do.
Nice
and applesauce and that.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we got to come back to comics because this is comics.
We should.
Yeah, sorry. We're just like nerds about everything.
Yep.
And we're kind of tired because we just keep putting out episodes because we don't want to ever lose the momentum.
Right. Yeah, I told you ahead of time I had nothing to talk about today.
I got nothing. I was going to complain, but I realized I'm so tired of complaining about like stuff. I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had a couple of people call me to tell me we're doing too many shows every year. And I was like, "Dog, this is just a hangout. You want to come, come. If you don't want to come, stay the fuck home."
You don't have to go.
Yeah, like, dog, people think that I have a problem with some of the Astoria clowns. Like, because I'm from Astoria, so it's like this. Where they're like, "Oh, why even put a show together?" And I'm like, "Why not? Dog, if you don't want to come hang out," and every time they come, they buy stuff. So I'm like, don't buy anything if you don't like it.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, dog, if you don't like it, you don't like it. If you don't, go home. This is why I got to come back to dressing up like a clown and being that clown FOMO the clown again and all like skits. Because that's how I feel dealing with people telling me about like why we do this, why we do that. Just show up, man. It's people used to have social clubs back in the day, especially before pandemic. Everybody was a member of something. I used to be in a skee ball club.
Yeah.
And now nobody does nothing. So now we have the Queen's Comedy Party. It's something to do.
That's it.
Twice a month, you have somewhere to go. You always 3 times a month, including hot flips. And if you want to venture to Melville, you got 4 times. You got Route 110, which is a great show as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they do a really good show. It's like it's a lot more vendors than what we got, but like you'll find different stuff. Wherever you're into, you'll find something.
Right. What are you
So
looking for on Saturday?
that's what I was gonna ask you. Um, I don't know. I just at the last show I didn't get a chance to announce this. I got from Heroes Reborn, um, Action Comics 894, the first appearance of Death in the DC universe. So I'm kind of like really into that. I might look for Showcase 76 or something like that, which is the first Batlash,
Okay. You
which
getting
as
into
weird as it
westerns now?
sounds. No, I'm into all right. My one of my favorite TV shows is Farscape,
Okay.
and the voice actor for the Justice League of Batlash is Ben Browder from Farscape.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, let me get that. I got Batlash #1 a couple of weeks ago. I love that. I'm not really into westerns, but I do like get it. Like, you know what I mean? Like those are getting like super popular again, but not comic book wise. And I would like to find the first Jonah X.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Me
know
too.
who's the voice of Jonah X in all the cartoons?
No.
It's the pig guy from Deliverance, the guy doing the assault, not the other guy.
Okay, so not Ned Beatty, the hillbilly guy.
Not Bed Beatty, the hillbilly, is the voice of Jonah X.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I'm a big voiceover fan, so I'm like really enjoying it. I'm guessing you haven't watched The Penguin yet.
I have not. I have not. Not enough hours in the day right now. I
Yeah,
did just in the last 10 days for my website, I had to work my way through the Severin Folklore box set, which was 24 films. And then over the last 2 days, I had to work my way through a collection of vintage adult films directed by Ed Wood, um, which are
I just priced out
exactly
a
what
bunch
you
of
would think
Edward
they are.
movies.
And
I
so
just I just priced out a bunch of VHS for Saturday of Glenwood of Ed Wood.
nice, nice.
Yeah, like Glenda or Glenn, you
Leonard
know.
Landa, yeah. And so now that I'm caught up on those and like, I have more time, I do have every intention of watching The Penguin. I have HBO. I also kind of wanted to wait till it was finished so I could binge it.
Same. And now that it's done, I'm gonna totally binge it. I'm finishing up. For some reason, I'm watching Deadliest Catch. I have no idea why I'm into these stupid boat stuff. And then I started watching a BBC show called Pugnwad or something, Agatha Christie's Pugnwad, something like that.
Poirot.
Borough, whatever.
Yeah. The old BBC
And
stuff, those are good.
it's really good.
Yeah.
And what kills me is like sometimes you think you know the plot because she kind of invented it
Hmm. Absolutely.
in 1920. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's who
Hitchcock
came up with this.
Hitchcock owes her a debt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, I mean just in terms of like story structure and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And the characters are all good.
Hmm.
Like it's very gray area. There's no like there's a few villains in there, but there's a lot of like, hey, you're an idiot. Don't ruin your life, which is kind of great because you never always get that in a story. You know what I mean? Especially because it's set in the 20s of England, which I know even less about than the 20s of America. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
When I was a kid, I was really into Stephen King and Clive Barker, and my parents got concerned. And because I was a little young to be reading a lot of that stuff. But and
Mhm.
so they tried to get me into reading James Bond books and the Hercule Poirot novels by Agatha Christie instead. And I did read a bunch of them and they were good. But then I
Yeah,
went back to reading Stephen King and Clive Barker. So
it turns out before the show ended, they did every single book she ever wrote in short story.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Dude, it's pretty good. It's good to see something different.
it is. Yeah.
What's the book you're gonna look for this weekend?
I need to finish my Bronze Age Swamp Thing run. I'm missing two. I have all the rights in ones, but I'm
Mhm.
missing 23 and 21.
All right.
Yeah.
The $3 guy, you might have it.
That's
There's a
it.
guy
Like,
in this. There's a guy in the center stage over there
mhm,
that always has it. I'll point him out to you. We're gonna take turns on the table and just go hang around.
sure.
So it'll be good. But this is an oddball episode. They're getting odder and odder. Um,
There. That's okay.
but I'm Billy
Time.
Bombs.
I'm
Yeah.
Ian. Talk to you
So
later.
I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Queen's Coming Podcast.